Hey guys, welcome to the video. In today's video, we are gonna be doing What If Civilization Started Over, episode 5. So yeah, first off, sorry for not posting in a while. I will be posting, now I'm gonna start posting every 2 episodes every month, I think. And it's the flag update. So now we're seeing the yellows versus the beige dynasty, which is winning. I do love the flags, however. Well, they're losing the part of Romania they owned, and now they're smaller. The beige dynasty, one of the newest nations, has beat, but now we see the green state returning to its former glory of being the king. But also, I might start doing viewer events. Like, I could do some polls for like alternate Wisco and Ages of Conflict for episode 6. I could do for like the first Great War where everyone was fighting the Green State. I could make that differently so that the Greens come out as victorious. Or I could just ask you to make the Treaty of the Greens, the Treaty of Green. But like, I want to do that like now. So yeah, we're seeing the Green State expand into Mesopotamia and the Caucasus. Also, soon in August, I will be starting school soon, so I might just like focus on that. And guys, I forgot what I was gonna say, but like also, I really miss having so many viewers on my videos, but I will be patient and wait, because over time my videos will get better, or I'll get more views on videos. I don't want to sound like needy for subscribers and stuff, but like my goal, the goal I set, which is on my description, is 100,000 subs. And I'm gonna try to reach that goal. And hey, if they ever make a mod which allows you to literally do multiplayer, I might do a multiplayer series, but that's unlikely. And now we're seeing that the Green State is expanding, as well as in the Caucasus, where the Green State borders more the Beige Dynasty. Or not. And now we're just seeing Turkey, with a little bit more. And a little bit less, since there is our favorite colonial empire, and our only one, the Purples, who are also gonna start expanding into Egypt. And they're gonna be marching towards where the Suez Canal is, but like right now it's like the Nile. But this, like, if I ever like lose this, I probably won't be able to recover it, since, well, I have 2 different accounts on my laptop and the iPad I'm using right now, which means I'd have to like replicate it exactly, which I don't really fancy doing. And then I have to replicate it back on if I lose my iPad, so not exactly the best position. But right now, we do have our great alliance known as the Mediterranean Duo Alliance. And a Royal Alliance, because we have the Royals. And our Red State. But in the Orange State, we're gonna see a new... I was just gonna... Also, note, this is a voiceover, and in my recording I forgot that you have to actually create a new present revolved. So I just wrote this. But also, if you have better names than mine, since mine, I honestly agree if they're really bad, since I didn't really make them good. So yeah. So the dark green state, the dark green barbarians, seem to have gained independence as a new tribal state. And then we had the small revolt of Copen. Which the oranges own still. And the greens are basically. But the orange state has lost territory for the first time. Also, if you've been following the series for a while, which I think I've made a entire playlist for that, you will have known that there's only a few selective countries who have never stopped gaining land. Like the Reds team, which seem to have gained so much land. The oranges were on that list, but now they aren't. The purples were on that list, but then they had a great big war with the blues, which teaser the blues might not be here for very long. If you get that. But this might be a pretty long video compared to my normal ones, which is pretty good, which means because most people just, and the red state, which I don't like having but now we have another puppet, Pliom. We've got two new countries, which one is a puppet of the red state, because the reds are just the puppeteers of the world. Technically, the reds are done with being a country which has never stopped gaining land, since they kind of annexed the Cyans and then they just not annexed the Cyans. Because the Science just decided to not be part of the Reds anymore. And now they're a dynasty, which is pretty cool. Our only other dynasty is the Beige State, which is the biggest of the Black Sea countries behind the Greens. Actually, the Greens aren't that big in the Black Sea, since most of the coastline is in the Mediterranean. Imagine, however, in this alternate thing, that the Greens join the Mediterranean Alliance, and the Greens connect the purples to the colonies through roads, along with the yellows being able to reach the purples' colonies for supplies. Also, I did have trouble with Pliom deciding what color it should be and stuff. if you want, you can, like, on the community page, I think, you can tag my name and put a flag, what you want the flag to be, and I'll try to replicate it. But try to make it simple, since I am not a flag designer. Or you could try replicating this and then just but we also I just wanted to test this out, since you can ally your puppets, which is weird. But like before, you used to be able to puppet your puppets. That your puppets could puppet like your other puppets. Which also, the dark greens are also the first country to actually enter the Scandinavia. Well, the Plium state is independent, which is pretty bad, since now the Cyans no longer have access to Britain as the first discoverers of the Isles of Cyan, which I'm gonna call it now, since it sounds much more cool. Or the Cyanic Isles. But until we actually get a new state, or we get an actual owner for the Cyanic Isles, which will become the namer, then yeah, so we are renaming this country to the Blue Naval Country, or the Blue Navy Country. Why I'm paused here is just because I had trouble figuring out what name I wanted. And why we're making a second blue state? Well, if you didn't get the hint before, we might see the death of the blue state, which has been with us since day one. And has also been the most sad country, since they keep losing shit. Oh no, I said a bad word. I mean, they keep losing stuff. Also, our two alliances are interesting, and we also are soon gonna see the Blues defeat. I'm gonna disable Nation AI for the Blues, since they didn't do that. We're also going to see the pinks and the golds go to war. We're seeing two wars, but we are gonna see our great war. The Blues are actually winning some of these battles, but not for long, since, well, soon we're gonna see the ganging of the century on the Blues, which at one point used to be one of the biggest countries and now are not. Also, I'm gonna keep them alive for a bit before they die. The Blue Harbor was taken, and now their forces are cut off. The year now is year 21, and lots of crazy stuff has happened in those years. Everyone's ganging up on the Blues. At first the Reds are losing, but they're just begin the attacks. Well, now they control the trade routes. And we're gonna name the city Valor City. We're gonna name it Valor. And we're gonna see the fall of the great nation. Well, now the purple's just as this war is kinda bad for the pinks, since they were absolutely destroyed and they rename it to Royal Harbor. The Blues are actually fighting a great fight. And soon the Blues are done. All their neighbors are fighting them. And they can't win against an onslaught. And now we see a complete collapse. But the purples in the Treaty of Valor will take the colonial claims in, and they're gonna connect all the new colony to the rest of their stuff. And now they control the main, like Italy in World War II, they control basically the central Mediterranean. The Blue State was here from year 1 to year 21. And the Gold State will be taking the main, I think that's Sardinia. The border gore. And now it's reconnected. And we're gonna rename the capital to Blueston under new ownership, as the Gold State has now expanded, taking over the full Balearic Islands, and our colonial empire over here is gonna keep expanding with the new city of Krulken. I don't know how I'm gonna put that. I'm just gonna call it Krukollen. Krukollen sounds okay, I guess. But let's take a look at our two alliances. Bro, they now border each other and both are like massive. The Mediterranean duo is bigger since they owned their ally is a colonial empire which spans the entire Mediterranean, except in the east. in the Royal Alliance, which owns basically all the Gibraltar state, which the purples will probably only gain like later, or in an invasion of the pinks, which is likely since the pinks are bordering a colonial power. And they broke away from a colonial power, but now are helped literally allow the colonial power to take more land from another colonial power. Because at the time, the blue state was actually a big colonial empire. But that was like, But now we're seeing the blue navies expand. And we are possibly going to see a red invasion of the British Isles. Ireland hasn't been discovered yet. And now they only think it's like a single. And now the Reds have gotten one chunk and it's cooked. They're gonna name this island, this little piece of land, Calondo, or something like that. Should say like Caledonian.